Welcome to BookPeek, Book 8, where stories come alive.
Okay, so let's get right into it. There is a book that has been quietly, and then, well, very loudly, taking over bookstores, bestseller lists, you name it. And now, it's officially coming for the box office. We're talking about Freida McFadden's The Housemaid. And today, we're going to break down just how this psychological thriller became such a massive cultural phenomenon. And if you want to get a sense of just how big this news is, just look at this. That's a quote from the author herself, Freida McFadden. That's not just regular excitement. That is pure, off-the-charts joy. And why? Because her monster hit is getting the full Hollywood treatment. That's right. The film rights were snapped up by Lionsgate, which, is a huge player in Hollywood. And as you're about to see, they are not messing around. They are bringing in the big guns to get this thing on the big screen. I mean, just look at this lineup. The star power here is absolutely insane. You've got Sweeney, who is everywhere right now from hits like Euphoria, and the incredible Amanda Seyfried as the leads. And directing, it's Paul Feig, the guy behind everything from Bridesmaids to A Simple Favor. This is a certified A-list team ready to bring all that suspense to life. So, what's the story that got millions of people hooked and attracted this kind of Hollywood firepower? Let's dive into the book itself and see what all the fuss is about. So it all starts with our main character, Millie. She is down on her luck, she's got a criminal record, she's basically living out of her car. She's desperate. And then she lands what seems like a dream job, a live-in position with the super rich and, seemingly perfect Winchester family. A fresh start, right? But come on, this is a thriller. We know it's not going to be that simple. And it's not just any thriller, it's a psychological thriller. And what that really means is that the real action, the real horror, is all happening inside the characters' heads. It's a deep dive into paranoia, manipulation, and that terrifying feeling of not knowing who you can trust, when it feels like everyone is hiding something. The setting is so important here. The Winchester mansion isn't just a house. It's practically a character in its own right. It becomes this beautiful prison of secrets. The author uses this really claustrophobic, oppressive atmosphere to just crank up the tension. Every locked door, every little noise in the night, it just adds another layer to the mystery, making you feel just as trapped as Millie does. But here's the crazy part about this book's own story. It was actually written way back in 2019. So how in the world did it suddenly explode years later? Well, the answer lies in a corner of the internet that has basically become a kingmaker in the publishing world. Yep, we're talking about the BookTok Effect. This community on TikTok found The Housemaid and just ran with it, turning it into a massive viral sensation. And it makes sense, right? The book is kind of perfectly built for the platform. You've got these short cliffhanger chapters that are perfect for suspenseful review videos, and the plot twists are so jaw-dropping they create the kind of shocked reactions that just go viral instantly. It was digital word of mouth on steroids. And the results of that viral fame were, well, they were staggering. Let's just run through the numbers. First up, sales. The book sold over 2 million copies. To put that into perspective, that is a number most authors can only dream of. It's just an elite tier of success. And this wasn't just some flash in the pan. The book had incredible staying power. It stayed on Amazon's overall bestseller list for an unbelievable 83 weeks. That's over a year and a half of just consistent, top-tier sales. It proved this was way more than just a passing trend. And finally, the big one. It spent 60 weeks on the prestigious New York Times bestseller list. That's really the industry's gold standard. So you see this journey, right? From a whisper on TikTok to a certified national phenomenon. It's truly remarkable. So who is the mastermind behind this runaway hit? Well, let me tell you, our background is probably not what you'd expect from someone who writes such dark, twisty thrillers. So get this, meet Freida McFadden, a practicing physician who specializes in brain injury, who also just happens to be a best-selling author of psychological thrillers. It's this fascinating duality, right? She spends her days literally healing the mind, and then she spends her nights crafting these incredible stories about minds that are completely falling apart. And this quote from her really gives us a peek into her mindset. She says, revenge is one of her favorite topics. Because art is the one place you can deliver that poetic justice that real life, so often denies us. It's all about creating a world where the scales get balanced, even if it happens in a really dark and twisted way. Okay, so we know the story is gripping and the author is fascinating. But what is it about the writing itself that makes The Housemaid so impossible to put down? Let's break down the mechanics of what makes this thing such a page-turner. McFadden really has a specific toolkit she uses. She writes these really short chapters that almost always end on a cliffhanger. She's basically daring you to stop reading. Her characters are all morally gray. Nobody is purely good or purely evil. She weaves in her favorite theme of revenge, mixes in these flashes of dark humor, and keeps the dialogue super sharp and fast. It's a formula that is just designed to be addictive. And that's exactly why you see it described like this all the time. A page-turner. It's not trying to be some dense literary masterpiece. It's designed to be a binge-worthy, super accessible read. You know, it's the kind of book that can pull you out of a reading slump and just remind you how fun it is to get completely lost in a story. Okay, now, without giving everything away, the book leaves you with some really heavy questions. We're going way beyond a simple whodunit here. It really forces you to think about some complex moral stuff. One of the last big revelations is about the villain, the husband, Andrew. We find out that his cruelty wasn't just born out of nowhere. He was a victim of the exact same kind of abuse from his own mother. It creates this tragic and frankly terrifying cycle of violence. And this reveal just throws a wrench in everything for the reader. It forces you to ask this really difficult question. Does knowing his backstory, knowing he's a product of his own trauma, does that change how we see him? Does it explain what he did, or does it excuse it? Can you feel any sympathy for a monster who was once a victim? And all of that leads to the final, biggest question about our protagonist, Millie. Because she doesn't just take the abuse, she takes action, decisive, violent action. So the question is she justified? Is she a hero delivering that poetic justice the author loves so much, or has she become something else entirely? And that is the question the book leaves burning in your mind long, long after you've turned that final page.
Every book is a doorway to another world. Come, explore with us.